Hey guys, welcome to the Exchange podcast. I'm here today joined by Truth's Debate and Talks with Jade. And today we're going to speak about UELEZ, I think. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Something to do with congestion charges for the young people, the elderly and the disabled. Like, guys, what do you think about it? I think it's out of order that they are trying to take money from the vulnerable.
Well, you've got to kind of see it as what the government have put in fine print. So, you know, quarantines happened, lockdown happened. TfL is one of London's biggest transport providers. Essentially, they almost went bankrupt. They've asked for the government to bail them out. But it's within that bailout fine print is what the government has done to try and recoup more money than what's necessary. It's like a loan in a sense, including interest. So, for example, one of the things are the making the congestion area bigger, because that covers most of London. Taking away the under 18s Oyster cards for those that are in education. Taking away the elderly freedom pass, those that get to like 60 or 60. 60.
I think it's 60.
Yeah, because my mum turned 60 last year and she got a free pass. So
And you know that's a walk of right?
Yeah.
Everyone's at 60 like, yeah, I'm gonna get my free pass.
Isn't it? Everyone's happy when they get
pass.
to 60, where
They're showing you the picture with the free
me,
pass.
they're happy about it.
And potentially it could affect the disabled person's freedom passes. So it's more of a thing of, okay, how much more can we take from Londoners for our political gain, for our wealth, for gaining wealth, you know, so on and so forth. We need to remember the bigger picture here is to keep London as the wealthy capital of the world. So, you know, there's still lower income families in London. You got to push them out.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying in regards to like the gentrification and stuff like that. This gentrification stuff was planned from, I think it was, what we now, 2000. So say that 25, 30 years ago. I remember reading some article or some report about it. And obviously the plan is to get low income families out, people who are on the periphery of being poor, so to speak, out of London, and then bringing the rich in. And this congestion charge thing is just solidifying that whole agenda.
Like a way to do it.
Exactly.
'Cause I live in South, so like Battersea, and there's always been the last 3-4 years we'll get like a post put to us like, oh, you know, have you considered like moving to Leicester or consider moving to Manchester?
And why would you just randomly do
That's what
that?
I'm saying. Don't have no family there, don't know any Tim Dick Harry there.
You know?
Don't know nobody there, but it's like, oh yeah, let's just ship to Leicester. You might get a bigger place, right? Great, but what am I gonna just
There's
do?
no connection.
There's no connection. Like everybody I know is here. Like I'm born in London, so why am I gonna go to another
City
place
and you don't even know no one.
So yeah, so no, I agree with you. I feel it's like a plan to put everything in motion. It's like COVID's happened, which has been affected everyone, young, old, black, white, Asian, whoever, because a lot of businesses have been shut. They're saying now with musicians, like if you're DJs or you're an actor,
Can you imagine?
go and find another career.
That's
Do you know what I
sad.
mean? People have trained to do this, and now they say, no, go and find something else to do. So yeah, everyone's really been affected by it. So I think like it is a way to get certain people from a particular social class background,
Of course.
to be in areas that they don't want to be, out of them, not of their own choice. So,
That's it.
But it's like the housing agenda, isn't it? You know, oh, we can't house you in London, you've got to take the property in Leicester.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is what happens, and they're doing it to mainly families of a big size. So if you've got like 6-7 people in your household, they can't facilitate you in London anymore, because all the houses I wouldn't even say houses, all the big tall buildings that they're building now, full of flats, families can't be accommodating in those places. So they're happy to offer you somewhere. I know a lady who was offered, she's only got 2 children, and it was just her and her 2 kids, and she got offered a 5-bedroom
Wow.
house in Birmingham,
Wow.
and she took it.
Wow.
So it's a thing where it's like, I don't mind having an opportunity to live outside of London,
Yeah.
for the simple reason being that you want to bring up your family in a nice environment. Like, London has become, or it hasn't even become, has always been a place of, I don't know, that there's always destruction in some way happening.
The areas that they're selecting, are those the areas that are destruction as well? Because you could be moving to an area like Birmingham that has a poor part to Birmingham.
Yeah, that's true.
Are your children gonna have the best start up in life? The answer would be question mark.
Because I don't know if you remember when the film, what's it called, Blue Story, came out.
That was a good movie, actually.
Yeah, so that was a movie that was based in South London, like, and they had reported that, you know, that the film was really good, but they had a bit of negative. It had a negative impact in a way of like what it was showing. Like it showed a lot of violence, but what I think, you know, obviously the director, I can't remember his name, was trying to portray is like, this is what happens in London, kind of thing. Like he wasn't trying to paint it to be, you know, oh, London's all great and it's all pretty and everything. He's just showing like what London is about. But then what happened is that a lot of people from Birmingham, Manchester, different cities, had decided, oh yeah, we're just gonna go and be violent and we're gonna be a rage and etc. And they had banned the film in certain cinemas as well.
They did.
And these were all areas that weren't even London, and the film was based in London. So, like, going to your point, I think possibly, yeah, you could be putting people in different places that could actually be destructive as well. But because London is the main city and the biggest city, it's like, that is the thing, like, yeah, that's why everyone looks like this is the destructive city. But in Sinai, it's like, I've got family in Leeds. There's problems that happen in Leeds that no one really talks about. But there's a lot
everyone focuses on London, innit?
Yeah, but then there's a lot of black and Asian people that are in Leeds, so maybe that's why it's not really spoke about in that sense. And that you know, that's another way of looking at it as well. Like, it's like looking at areas that have got a lot of black, a lot of Asians, and maybe that's why it's not really looked upon as being disruptive, kind of thing.
I think following on what you're saying, and this is a conversation I overheard on the train, and I was just looking at them like, I'm gonna say Lewisham, but I don't think the area was Lewisham. We're gonna use Lewisham as an example. Okay? No one from Lewisham come for me. It's an example, okay? It's an example. Just putting it out there. So I'm sitting on the train minding my business, and you've got 2 young white people talking about one of them actually moving into London and saying, I'm happy about it. And, oh, where do you live? Oh, I live in Lewisham, but the posher part.
Oh, wow. So basically,
so immediately I'm looking over the posh part. Where? Where? And he's just like, well, there are a couple of roads where it's just like the poorer side, and then you've got the posh part. Okay. You're talking about an area where you can see the clear divide. You've got the lower income families versus the higher income families. Be real about it. It's all over London. It's just not your area of the posh part versus the not so posh part, the poor part. But I'm sitting there thinking, like, it's people like you, or them, should I say, that paint this picture. You've got the rich part of London and you've got the poor part. Okay, but we have the poor part because the governments refuse to bring them up to standards. Look at all the housing crisis across all London boroughs. There's a massive crisis in terms of the properties. They're falling apart. But you're not trying to invest in them. You're not trying to make it the rich part of London. And when you do make it the rich part of London, you're forcing the lower income families out.
Look at Grenfell.
Exactly.
That's a prime example.
I
still can't even believe that happened. That was horrible. Like, watching something like that unfold right in front of your eyes.
I remember that morning like it was yesterday. I remember, like, because I think it was like 5, maybe something in the morning. I got a phone call from my cousin in America,
Oh wow.
in New York, because obviously
In
gone
worldwide,
global.
yeah.
Like this was happening, so she had phoned like say, Davina, cousin, you alright? You okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just about to get up. Like, she's like, no, like there's a building, because obviously you know that I live in a block as well.
Okay.
So she's like, no, there's a building that's on fire. I wanted to know that it's not you. I was like, what? So where I live, my bedroom, like, it's got a really good view of London. So you can see like London Eye. You can see like different parts. I could actually see the building burning, like flames coming out from my bedroom, and I was like, wow. But obviously at that time I didn't know where
it was.
And I remember like filming it, thinking, "What is that actually happening?" And then I must have woke my mum up, and then like my mum was like awoke, like saw it from the news, and it was just like literally it was happening like before our eyes, and I was just like, "What is this?" And then it started making me feel panic, thinking like we live in a block, because
that's
like,
what I'm saying to you.
Like, you know, anything could like happen. Like, so yeah, I think that's a prime example, because I think they were saying that a lot of people did explain like there was nothing there regarding fire safety. You know, and
there was things like left open, innit, like pipe work and stuff.
Yeah.
Gas bits and pieces and the cladding and all of that, which they only had to spend that little bit more to make it fire safe.
They're not gonna do that,
and they didn't do it. And they still haven't been held accountable for it.
I think the worst thing about it is that, okay, fair enough, it's sad that it's happened, but then after it's happened, oh, you're telling all your chief executives in London, check your buildings.
Yeah, that should have been a thing anyway. So you weren't
but that's what I'm saying.
You wasn't checking your buildings, you wasn't making sure that the properties that you're letting out are safe. You basically have no, like, you don't care about human life.
No.
And the saddest thing about that was, as well, is that they lied about the death rate.
I always have that debate with people.
They lied about the death rate. I'm not being funny. Look how big the building was. Look how many people were in the building.
To be honest, the sizes of those properties are like 2 little flats put together. So I was told, like, they were proper,
small.
No, they were big. Like, they were big. Each house, each apartment was big. Yeah, it's not your standard.
So there's a lot of families that were in that place, and the amount of people that they claim had passed away from that, I don't believe it. Because where were the other people then? They've not come out and said, oh, you've survived.
No, but you have to remember that 70 deaths that they could confirm. I think a lot of people forget that. It's 70 deaths that they could confirm. So that's teeth, head, any body parts. That's 70.
But there could have been more.
There was more. Let's be real.
There's definitely more.
There was more. Everyone else probably burnt beyond recognition.
Wow.
And that's what I try to explain to people. It's not like, oh, they just said 70 deaths because they want to get rid of it. No, that's 70 people they could identify.
But they never put it across that though.
Of course, then
they never said. They
like
didn't
that.
say 70 deaths that we could confirm. They didn't use that wording.
But
they were just like, yeah, a total of 70 deaths.
Yeah, but that's the media, and we already know the prime examples of the media outlets in London.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? They will twist it in a way that, oh, it's not that bad. It's 70, but it's not that bad. Hold on, 70 is bad.
It's
One's bad.
One is bad.
Yeah. 70 is worse.
It could have been prevented, and that's the saddest thing about it. That whole thing could have been prevented from a long time ago, because they were supposed to do the works and they didn't do it. So I say that to say this, yeah. This is just another way of getting rid of a certain type of class people. Yeah. Because this time I don't even think it's too much about colour, but class is a lot to do with it now. But then people do, argue the case of if it was like a property full of Caucasians, would that have happened? But that's a debate to be had, I guess.
We have to remember,
like, further.
Each London borough, and I'm going to say each borough across England, have similar properties like that with a variety of diverse people. Do you get what I mean? You can't just say, because there was one group of people more than others, that's why they didn't care. No, all of these buildings had that. But I feel like where the tower is situated, and let's say it's the route of Notting Hill Carnival, people do see it. Yeah. I feel like they thought, okay, we could just do a rush job. We can do, like everyone says, we could just do a rush job. It's a rush job. We got to rush. take some time.
But it's not about time though. Like, it's about money and profit. So it's about doing maximum work with minimum money. But then equally, it's like they can line their pockets.
Yeah, they trying to maximize their profit, but
Of course they are.
you can't replace a life. You can
Yeah,
gain
but
money.
they don't care about that though. That's
I
not
know.
their agenda. Their agenda is not to save lives. Their agenda is to make the most profit
I think
possible.
I think it boils back down to like with this current situation as well. Like they're saying about the COVID and how many people's been affected. Like it's very funny that you can go on websites like World Health Organization and Public Health England and the NHS and all of that, all those kind of sources that give you up to date numbers which are affected globally. But until now, even up to now, you don't have nothing on UK. You have crises that are daily. You have crises that who are deaths, but you don't have numbers who've recovered. But you have numbers on different countries around the world. So now
Of their recovery rate.
So now you're thinking like, okay, is this a way of using this as a way to kind of like, alright, we can put all these measures in place, go with tier 2, go with people can't mix in different households, go with like bars and restaurants have to be closed at 10, etc.
Corona leaves at 10 anyway.
Corona leaves at 10. Do you know what I mean? But then obviously, like being a teacher, I can be with how much different students.
I know, like 30 kids.
30 kids in one time, you know, but then across different year groups all the time.
Yeah.
And then those kids are going to be with whoever, and they met me on the bus going with whoever,
Exactly.
etc. So is this a way to kind of be like, oh, this is how we can make our money back? So we'll put this in place. We'll take travel from kids who are under 18 because they have to go to school every day. So let them have to pay for that, for education, which is supposed to be free.
Yeah.
And then let's obviously charge the 60 plus because obviously they have worked so many years already. So let's just charge them again. But well, let's also charge the disabled people as well because obviously they get enough allowances already. So yeah, I think it's just a way of like getting people to decide to leave London.
Yeah.
Because if you get
Because
if you if you encourage someone to feel that way and think that way,
Yeah.
and you manipulate them there, then it's like it's their decision.
Yeah, I guess so. Manipulation is definitely the thing
I
that's
think
happening right now.
It's about the information that's out there that's accessible. I do believe they do monitor the people that have recovered, but it's not publicly known.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
It's not publicly known.
Because if they put it out there, it's gonna go against their original agenda. Because I believe the recovery is way high. It's probably
And
like
people have spoken of
it's
that.
probably like 80 or 90 something % chance of recovery. To be honest.
Yeah.
It's
But
like
if they say
yeah.
that, then all of this lockdown and tier 1, 2, 3, whatever it is null and void.
Right,
Yeah.
but I hate to kind of side with Trump, but on this particular matter, what I'm going to say, I did side with him. He put it out there like, I'm not being funny. It's just the flu. In terms of, you get sick, you either recover at home if you're a well-abled bodied person, or if you're not that well, or...
Oh my god! That's one of the things. What was that?
I actually thought it was going to hit me.
When I was like, what?
It was a
Fireworks?
smart guy.
I was like,
Why was that? You know,
'cause
I
it
had
caught my
sleep. I
eye.
had one over there and
It caught
I
my
didn't
eye. I
put it
saw
on
something
properly.
move, and I was like, huh? And it just went, whoop. It's like, what?
See, that was
I could
Trump.
have dead.
That's Trump.
No, but not side with him no more. But I'm coming back. But back to the. Nah.
that was funny, no, because it was the clip. I don't think I put it down properly, and it just spring off. That's funny, boy.
Nah, that's why I get frustrated with Trump on this matter.
Do you get what I mean?
I'm going back to my original side, but in terms of you need extra medical care, you go to the hospital, and generally it's the people that are already not well or the older population that get the real blunt force trauma of flu. Do you get what I mean? So it's like, that's COVID, but how many deaths were recorded as COVID that weren't COVID?
Loads.
Because you didn't want to put that body through autopsy. You didn't want to put that body through autopsy. Why? You talk to the medical staff. We're on the ward. We can't leave. There's not enough PPE. We're trying to make our day easier. Forget it. Put COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
And that's
It's
not
just
right.
crazy. Like,
What would you feel about these masks?
Burning you, blessing you, burning you. Well, I go.
But the boss.
but no, with masks, yeah, like all of that stuff don't make no sense anyway, because like the gloves and the masks, for me personally, I just don't agree with it. I don't think it makes any form of sense. And I think I explained this in another episode, yeah. But when you wear gloves, I put gloves on my hands, right? I'm touching the cup. So everything that was on this cup is now on the glove. Then I'm gonna touch this. So I'm transferring it and I'm passing it on. And then I'm gonna touch my hair. And then I might scratch my face with these same gloves on that are supposed to be. But then you're gonna come behind me and do the same thing, touch the same cup that I just touched and pick up whatever I had on that onto you. So my thing is this: the only way that you're gonna be safe is you have to change your glove after you touch one thing.
Yeah.
So you touch that with a glove, you take off the glove, put it in the bin, put on a new glove, touch something else. Everything you touch, you have to change your gloves. That's not possible.
No.
With the mask thing now, you need to breathe out. What was it? Carbon monoxide or whatever?
Dioxide.
Dioxide.
Yeah.
So you're breathing in and then you let out the gases that your body does not need. So if I have a mask covering me, I'm breathing back in the same crap that I'm supposed to release from your body. So I don't know I don't have a medical degree. I don't have no scientific nothing, masters or PhD, but common sense is not common, innit? And that just doesn't make any sense to me.
There was an Instagram video going around with a lady
In the nurse, is it the nurse suit?
I think so.
And she had on the blue thing and she was showing. I touched my phone and then she put like jelly on her fingers.
No, not that one. I think she's actually a political person, and she's like doing a talk and saying like, you know what, these masks are like literally a joke kind of thing. And like she was saying the same thing, like I've got something like throat infection or something like that, where it's been affected due to the mask. Like people are getting sick from
because
wearing,
of wearing
the
the
mask
Yeah.
kind of thing. So like extra problems have been happening because of the cause of the mask. So I dislike like hate wearing the mask. I feel I can't breathe.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just a restriction of like literally doing normal
Day-to-day
things,
life,
like going in the shop or etc. like that. And it's just I just don't see the difference in it. And now like they've actually put it in schools now where you have to wear the mask all day, like when you're moving around, like say the corridors or changing classrooms, etc. You have to wear a mask by law now, kind of thing. So that like from tomorrow, going into work, I've got to wear a mask. Like
it's just this control thing is very deep. It's deeper than we think.
100%.
I always say that the people have the power, innit?
Yeah.
The people have the power, but if we're willing as a nation to just sit down and conform, they will carry on with their agenda. We have to fight back. And I don't mean physically. We have to rise up.
You think do you like a protest?
I'm not really into the protest thing. That's my personal. I don't go to protests and stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't feel that it really
Does anything.
creates change. It just creates noise. That's it. It just creates noise, and then for a while you just feel like you've done something, but then what's the plan? We spoke about this, I think, in another episode, but
the Black Lives Matter.
with the BLM.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
think-
like, what next? You have to have a plan. You can't just march.
And an agenda. Or
you have to have an agenda.
It's not even protest is a form of standing out, but then what else? Like, are you actively doing more in your community? Are you actively supporting black businesses? Are you actively trying to fight the change? If you're not actively doing it across all areas, then it's pointless.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's like Black Pound Day and all of that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I do like Black Pound Day, you might find a new business that you never even
I
heard
think
of.
it's
Do you know what I
alright.
mean?
I think
Like, I
it's
like
cool.
that promotion behind it. I like the fact that people think, oh, okay, these are the
What
black
kind of-
businesses
you
I know.
actually like consciously, maybe on that day, seek black businesses, even though I do that anyway. But just for other people that may not actively do that on a daily, they might just think, oh, that 1 month. Oh, do you know what? It's Black Pound Day. Let's. So it's a start. It's a start of something that can work if people are willing to be active all the time.
But then, do people still go into like shops like Asda's and Tesco's and Sainsbury's?
This is
and
that's
still-
the
still
whole
spend-
yeah.
exactly.
Still do,
They
yeah.
still spend the day. Yeah, so it's like I thought it was a brilliant idea what Swiss came up with, Black Pound Day, acknowledging it. It's every month of the year, which is a good thing. But when people just say, yeah, I'm not gonna spend at the white man, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna.
No,
but the
you
thing
will,
is, if
'cause
you got a
you
family
have to.
and you gotta feed your kids. Are you gonna be like, no, kids, we're not gonna eat today? You know, we're gonna like, you know, meds. We're just gonna rock back and forth, like eat fresh air if we can, kind of thing. Because let's be real. Let's be real. Like, we do want to support our black businesses and all the time and all that, and we're all for that. But then, if it's more cheaper for you to go and buy the ingredients and cook home cooked food instead of go to whatever shop, Caribbean shop,
And buy
spend
meals,
£10 a
separate
meal,
meals, yeah.
and there's like 7 of you, that's £70.
That's £70.
Do you know what I
I
mean?
think when it comes to that now, you have to be like strategic in what you're doing, because it's a thing where yes, we should support each other, and I'm 110% on that.
Yeah.
But remember, before I was saying that you can't exclude other cultures from what you're doing.
Yeah.
In order to move, you have to work together.
Yeah.
How do you think their industries are so great? Because we invest in their business. We go Asda, we go Tesco's, we go Morrison's. We buy, well, not all the time, but the brands and all of that. We're supporting their industry. We're the biggest consumers.
Yeah.
So we ain't gonna be turning our backs on other people to come and spend with us. We need them to come and to spend with us to help build our economy.
Yeah.
But you do get ignorant people that will think, oh yeah, I don't want this person to be working with me, and I ain't gonna shop with them. But you do, because that's the majority of the brands that's out there.
Yeah.
You can't show me one Caribbean or African Asda, like equivalent of Asda.
No.
If you can, if anyone's watching and they
Yeah.
can, please write that in the comments,
Yeah,
because I would love to
100.
shop there. Any equivalent like to Asda's owned by black people, please put that in the comments, because I for one would like to support that, innit?
Yeah, no.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we definitely need to be doing that, but like I said, we all need to be in it together. We all need to be working together. This is not something that we can do on our own, basically.
Because you was even saying like about you have to kind of mix with different cultures in order to make a brand to move forward. But
Exactly,
then also like people do have other discrimination against people who may be gay or who may, you know,
all that nonsense.
have who's changed their gender, etc. We live in a time where people can be free to
do what they like,
want, how they want to live. You know, you might not agree with it, and you don't have to agree with it, but it's the world that we live in.
That's it.
And if it's like, if you want to be successful in life, like, I think this is what I feel like as a race sometimes, is that we are it's much easier for us to put each other down than to lift each other up, kind of thing. And I feel it's like, if you're doing something well, but you're a brand where you kind of cater to everyone who is different, black, white, disability, gay, straight, whatever it may be, Muslim, whatever, like, you're looked upon as a sellout if you're going to a certain kind of target audience.
Yeah, I get you.
So like, I don't know if you lot see, or Rihanna had something out on Amazon Prime, basically advertising both of her brands, Fendi and the other one that she does, and it had like a big like like show with like different artists that were on, like Miguel, Diddy's son. They were all, like, performing, but they had like all these models like modeling her brand and clothes, and they had like different people, black, white, big,
mixed,
slim, mixed, and it was as a diverse of people. And like for her, so she's one of the most richest, most successful like
females, black females
at that. So if she can do it and be respected for it, but then you have someone that might come from London doing the same thing, why are they looked upon as a sellout?
Now I always tell people, difference between us and let's say a different group of people is how well they work together. Now I'm going to use LGBTIQA plus as an example.
She said, wow.
Yeah, because I'll never get that right.
Yeah,
I've started to learn it because of work and stuff, so I'm trying to make sure that I'm alright.
That you don't offend, innit?
Yeah. So the difference between them and let's say the straight community, or those that identify straight, is that their community are so hot on, we've got to work together, we've got to support one another. Like, how are you today? They'll go and speak to strangers, and you know, if someone carries their representation flag, they will openly go and speak to them, like, oh, you know, I'm so and so, blah blah blah. But whereas others are like, oh, I don't like the look of you, don't talk to me. And that's where you stop yourself from growing. Now, for me, if I had a brand, I'm going to appeal to different types of group of people, because I know once I get 5 people from each types, or from 5 people from different groups,
you're winning.
Then you're good.
You're winning.
But, and then that's the thing. If we're talking about purely on a business level, it don't matter who's coming to your business. It don't matter who walks through your doors. It's a customer. It's a client. It's helping you to grow. Nobody has time to be thinking about what colour the person is, what creed they are, what gender they are, what people identify. Like, nobody cares about that. I personally don't care. I want everyone. Business. I want everyone coming to my business. I want to sit around a table with everyone. Because I'm interested in even getting to know different types of people. Because obviously I'm surrounded by people who are kind of similar to myself in certain ways. But it would be nice to sit down with different types of people and try to understand their culture. And
that's how you
learn. That's it. And you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what some people forget when they're in business. They pick and choose who they want their clients to be. I don't care what you are, as long as you're coming in respectfully, we've got that mutual respect for each other, and you're spending your money, then come through the door, you know, like that.
For me, I don't really care, because as I say to people, it doesn't pay my bills.
Exactly.
It really doesn't. Like, it actually doesn't pay my bills. Whatever you decide to do, it doesn't pay my bills. So okay, you know, of course we all have our boundaries. Just respect my boundaries. But
just respect the boundaries.
I just don't understand. Like, if you're, and this is a lot of arguments that I've heard, like, let's say a gay person say, if you are straight, you identify as straight, you know you're straight, you're confident that you are straight.
It doesn't matter who comes next to you.
Why are you bothered about a gay person? You know yourself. I can't turn you gay.
Exactly.
I can't turn you gay because you know yourself. So, are you insecure?
That's my whole point.
100%.
That's my whole thing.
Totally agree.
That's my whole thing.
Because if you have to question your comfortability against someone who is different towards you, that is something that you have to do. Because
that's on you.
I've got friends who are gay. I've got family that are gay. I'm straight, but I don't feel uncomfortable being around them because
not at all.
Whoever you do with, that's your business.
That's your business.
Same person. The same with the person who is straight. Whatever you do in the bedroom or wherever you want to do it,
it's down to you.
Business.
Exactly.
You get me? Me now watch what you are doing. So why? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not expecting you to watch what I'm doing. So I have to respect that. So, and that's not what makes you a person. That's your preference.
That's your preference.
Your choice.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, if I have to feel, oh gosh, no, I can't. Oh no, oh gosh, she's into girls.
Silly.
Oh, she's into a bit of both.
Yeah.
Like, that's your problem. That's your business, and then that's what those kind of things you're putting automatically.
You're putting a
barrier
for
yourself to actually do things for yourself, kind of thing.
And your business and your brand.
Yeah, your business, you're just being a person in society. Do you know what I mean? Because that same person that you think, oh my god, you're gay, they could actually be the one that saves
Saves
you
your
out of
life.
trouble.
Exactly
Do you know
that.
what I mean? They're the same.
People
person that
put
you
too
should-
much emphasis
Hey.
on what people tend to do in their private life.
Yeah.
That's nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with
As
it.
long as it's not like breaking the law and that,
Yeah.
getting into all the nastiness,
Yeah.
like child stuff,
Yeah.
then cool. But
Literally.
everything else,
That's what I'm saying.
And
And that's
Yeah.
what just to follow on that, you're more bothered about someone's sexuality rather than children that are abused
Exactly.
by predators.
yeah, because you could be in a room with one.
Right. So
There's people that are on is it sex offenders
offenders,
list,
yeah.
and they live like on your block
Yeah.
because
Live
they
right next to you.
reintegrate them back into society, and you're none of the wiser.
Yeah, and then
You wouldn't
get
know.
vulnerable people, and you know,
Yeah.
and then you've got babies and whatever. And
That's what I mean.
That's all that's happening. But
They'll rather focus on
they'd
somebody's
rather
sexuality.
focus on the-
That's
yeah,
nothing to do
I don't
with you.
understand, and you know what? It annoys me because I'm like, why? Like, why? You're focusing on the wrong thing here.
Yeah,
But is that what your culture wants you to focus on, or is that are you focusing on it because you're not comfortable? Like, figure it out.
But even though if it's your culture, like we are not in the Caribbean, we are not in Africa.
yeah,
Do you know
we're
what I'm
in
saying?
London,
Whereas different
England,
parts of the
boy.
Caribbean, yes, they stone you, they give you
Yeah.
prison
Yeah,
or
there's some
whatever
cultures
for
that
being gay.
they don't.
We're not in there. We're not there. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we might still embrace our culture with the music, with the food, with the clothes. Yeah, we'll do that. But certain behaviours, we can't do that because it's something called the Equality Act. Do you know what I mean? And you're not supposed to discriminate people because we already get discriminated for the colour of our skin.
Can you imagine
So we're
sexuality
already,
as well?
We're already a group of people that are discriminated on a daily basis. Like you can get, whereas black people, you see us driving a Mercs or a BMW.
Yeah,
we're
it
getting
must be
stopped.
drug money
We're getting stopped
because you could never have a nice paid
no
job, can
way.
you? Oh no.
Can't
Yeah.
you can't be living an honest life
course
and
not.
just
Yeah.
work hard to drive that Mercedes
Exactly.
and drive that. Do you know what I mean? Because you have to be doing something because you're not the right skin colour.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
That's
So-
mad. That's actually
Do you know what I'm
mad.
saying? So when you're bothered about people who are gay, like you need to listen. You need to think about yourself, like the challenges you have to face already. About bothered about someone who's doing what? Yeah, that's childish
Yeah,
talk. Do you
It
know what I mean?
is. It is 100%. Like
So then, are you guys okay, or should I say, what age is appropriate to talk about the LGBTIQA plus with your children?
Me, I don't have kids, but I'm a teacher, and I teach PSHE, so we teach sex ed and everything like that in secondary schools. I think the school that I teach at now, I teach in a girls' school. I feel that's more probably promoted more, probably there than what I've actually no, it's promoted equally in both schools. And I feel that in secondary school, it definitely has to be taught in
That's spoken
stages,
about, yeah.
like in stages that is appropriate, which is age appropriate. In primary school, I'm on the fence to it. The reason I'm on the fence is because there's a thing called internet, social media, that a lot of kids below age of 7 is fully aware, could probably teach me a couple things that I don't know how to do. So they're accessible to it. So it's like, in that sense, I feel that there's certain things they may need to understand and know about. They don't need to go into full detail because they're still young, they're still babies. But I feel they need to be aware of certain things because they could go on an internet and just type whatever, or just click on the wrong button and it comes up.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So for me, it's like there needs to be awareness of it. Because I'd rather, if I had a child, or like even just speaking to my nieces and nephew, I'd rather they be aware of something than them finding it out for themselves and not knowing what to do, where they could potentially get themselves into a situation which would prevent their safety kind of thing. So in that sense, I feel it needs to be awareness, but to an extent where it's not too much for them to be overwhelming. at a young age. But I think, yeah, as a parent, if you feel comfortable doing it, and obviously if you're fortunate enough to have both parents around, then do it together. Do you know what I'm saying? Even if you're not with the partner, but they're happy to be like, you know what, let's do it together, and then explain it from a female perspective and a male perspective, so they get to understand both perspectives of it. Then yeah, but again, it probably goes back down to culture. If they're against it in their culture and they've grown up against it and they're an adult against it, then it might be, yeah, I don't want my kids to know. Like, I've got loads of friends like that. I don't want my kids to know that. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know, what do you think?
I think we need to hear from the parent.
Personally, I don't think that children really need to know anything too much about sex, period. They're kids. Yeah. And I feel like the society that we live in today, we're making our kids grow up way too soon. I understand the fact that you said, that, we've got internet now, we've got social media and all of that, so young people can access certain things, but it depends on how you run your household as well.
True.
Because not all parents allow their children to be up on internet and YouTube and all of that stuff like that, depending on their age. Yeah. I want my kids to be kids for as long as they can, for as long as they can keep their innocence. I want it to happen, but then I'm not. What's the word? Like, I understand that.
In denial.
Yeah, I understand that there are certain things that they will need to know. And I'm happy to speak about them. I think the way we are as a family is that nothing's off limits in terms of discussion. Because I believe that if you can be open with your children, it makes their life a little bit easier, because they don't fear anything when it comes to speaking to their mum and dad. Like that. Like, obviously, like, when I grew up, I never had that conversation with my mum and dad about sex or nothing like that. Even when I started my period, I only knew about period when I saw it that day. Do you understand? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. What is going on? At 10 years old. So as a black community, because I can only talk on that because I'm black and I'm Caribbean, yeah? Like, there's a stigma against certain things, innit? Even down to things that is nature, that you can't stop having a period. That's a natural thing. That every woman, or 99.9% of women, have a period. That's something that you need to be speaking to your child about, I believe, from the age of 8.
Yeah, because it can happen at any time.
Periods can come from 8 and onward, even before.
Yeah, it can do.
Before that.
Shifting,
That's it. I was 10, my mother was 9. So I knew I had to speak to my eldest from 8. So she was aware. And I explained what it is, what happens, So when the time comes, she's not shocked.
Yeah, she doesn't think she's dying.
Yeah, she doesn't think
because
she's
everyone
dying.
thinks they're dying and they don't have that conversation.
But equally, it is hard to have those types of conversations because they're only babies. Why? I don't want to have to sit down and talk to my kids about sex and relationships. 6 years old, but I find that they come and ask me things, and I'm like, oh, freak. Like, why? What now? I'm looking at my time thinking, you're only this age. It's too early. Like, mummy's not ready yet. But I have to be ready. So when they come to me and talk, like, even like the babe, like, they will be like going to school. You know, when you're like 5, 6, and you're just like, and then they mention a certain person's name, and then they start blushing and going all like that. But that's just their innocent. But it's like they're innocent, but they kind of know what they feel.
Yeah.
Because although like a little girl of maybe 5 years old might say, like, call a boy's name, and then the girl starts smiling. She knows why she's smiling. They can't articulate it, but they feel something. It might not be sexual, obviously, at that age, but it's probably like, oh yeah, well, like, it's exciting when I see that, like, my friend, when I go to school. But for me, I'm just like, leave it at that. If you start to feel certain things now when you're like 12, them ages there, 13, and you're like, mum, like, is it normal to feel like that? Yeah, it is. That's completely natural. It's natural to feel how you feel. You're gonna like people. There's nothing wrong with that. However, come and speak to me about
I'd
your
be
feelings.
more concerned if you didn't like anyone. I'm not gonna lie, I'd be more concerned if you didn't.
Yeah, but come and speak to me about it. Come and speak to your dad about it. Speak to, nanny about it. Whoever in the family. Because like you said, I will rather no matter what it is, come and talk to me, because I don't want them to get the wrong information and do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Come and ask me, come and ask your dad, come and ask your nan, come and ask your auntie, your uncle, your cousins, and they will give you the right information. And it's hard being a parent in 2020. It's hard because there's so much different things that can lead your child astray. No matter what you do in your household, you could be rigid, you could be like open, you could be all sorts of things that to try and get you. But outside, you can't control that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying.
You can't control when they leave that house and they're in school. You don't know what other people's household is like, so they might be coming to bring all sorts of nastiness to your pitney, but it ain't from your house. But they're mixing with different people from different walks of life, different experiences. And I think as well, sometimes the school don't even take that into account, because as soon as a kid says something that's a bit funny, like, oh, that's you got to think about the environment. And that's why I'm on the fence when people start blaming parents for certain things. So yes, there are some parents that are to blame, but equally there are some that are not, because you can bring up your child the best way possible, but like I said, as soon as they step out that door, you're not in control.
Yes,
so you just have to hope that what you installed in them, they carry that through.
Yeah, I think my family were worried about my rebel phase, because that actually lasted a good 4 or 5 years, but I started late. Yeah, really bad. I think around 16.
Is that when it started for you?
Yeah, so it was like about 15, but I didn't really stop until like 17, 18. So for them, they were like, yeah, this is bad.
Gonna stop?
This is bad, because normally some people do it when they're 11, 12.
Yeah.
She's like coming towards the end of school term.
And
like,
now she's doing it.
Why? It's a bit late, don't you think? But for them, it's like what you said. You can't control what your child does outside of the home. You gotta hope for the best.
Yeah, you do.
Discipline doesn't really work at some points during the rebel phase. I just said, whatever it is, what it is.
Yeah.
I did it. It's
and
what
if
it
you
is.
came home late, you just face it.
Yeah, I did. That was my response, and because I was so unbothered, it alarmed them even more. Do you get what I'm saying? So even when they're trying to have the conversations, it's like, well, had you had these conversations sooner, I probably wouldn't even have rebelled in the first place.
So what do you think like made you rebel? What do you think?
I think
was
I got to a
for
point
you?
that when you've got 3 adults in your life telling you, because my brother and sister, well, my brother's old enough to be my dad, my sister's 10 years older than me, and my mum. When you got 3 adults telling you, you should do this, you should do that, but they're not all on the same page, I'm like, well, I'm going to get in trouble somewhere. I'm going to do me. Chances are I'm only going to piss off 2 people. And that's my stance. And it's like in adulthood now, I'm like, I'm going to do me, but if you don't like it, you don't like it, it is what it is. Do you get what I mean? And I think that's when, like, talking to my friends, because some of my friends have children now, I'm like, you got to make sure that the communication's open, like, from the get-go. Make sure it's open. Like, if they do feel a type of way, they can come home and say, you know what, I feel a type of way.
This is how you feel,
Like, let it be open, because I can only speak for myself. When I was going through the things that I was going through, had some person actually reached out and spoke to me properly, probably would have done half the things I've done.
Yeah. So it was just that you needed somebody around you that could kind of support you.
Yeah.
In what you
But then I can't say that things were too bad for me, because I ended up doing so well in the end, which surprised all of them. So I got my grades at school just about. I passed college even though I had tuberculosis. I dropped out of uni, I got an apprenticeship with one of the local authorities, and I'm done so well in the last almost 7 years. Do you get what I'm saying? And I've had brilliant mentors. So my managers have been mentors, and they've kind of bridged in the gap. They're like, okay, the childish things you leave behind now, adulthood, this is what you need to do. And I'm thinking to myself, had this had happened 10 years ago, I probably would have been way further, probably been on track to being chief exec or something.
Probably. But nothing don't happen before it's time.
Yeah.
And you had to go through that journey. I think everyone has to go through certain things to make them who they are.
Yeah,
like,
I think
at this point.
When I do have children, I think that's the one thing I'm going to be bang on: communication. And you know, I read things on internet all the time, and parents give their own personal accounts. And one thing that stood out is like, you know, sometimes your child might be misbehaving, but it's not them actually being rude, and it's not actually them asking for a cry for help. It's just them just having an off day.
Yeah. Because they have off days as well. They're human, innit? They're just little humans. And sometimes as adults, we take that for granted, innit? That they've got their own little, as much as they might not be art issues or big, or at a big scale like ours, they're still going through their changes as well. They're growing. You know, they're seeing different things. They're trying to process things. So we need to cut them some slack as well.
I think I've gone off on a tangent, but back to the point that I asked originally. Secondary school, yeah, they need to have, I wouldn't say as much information, but they need to know enough to get them through, and to know that if they have further questions, you can either come to school and ask in a safe place, you can go home and ask, or there are different services out there catered for young people that you can ask these questions, and you can ask as many questions as you want. No
Judgment.
Right. Primary school is where I'm on the fence, and forgive me guys, I'm going to be very controversial here, and it might upset a few viewers. There are people out there that believe people are born gay, and there are people out there that believe it's a choice. I'm in the middle of that. I believe it's all down to environment. Some people are born gay because you can see the signs. You can see the signs in a 2-year-old. Some people nurture it, some people don't. Some people let it run its own course.
Like nature.
Right, do you get what I'm saying? And there's no two ways about it. What's the right way? Me personally, I'll let it run its course. Let the child decide. There are some people that, through certain situations, make their own choices. Now, whatever the situation may be is fine, but giving information to vulnerable children, they may make the wrong choice that is not good for them. So giving out too much information is more damaging than giving none at all.
So it's just got to be balanced, and
Right.
it has to be age appropriate and ability appropriate as well.
I think if a child comes back and asks certain questions, you're like, okay, I kind of see what route you're going. Do you get what I mean? But it's how I'm going to respond is how I need to be in my mind. Okay, I'm responding to your needs. I'm not responding because I have my own beliefs. Of course, we're going to install that in our children, but I'm responding to your needs. My beliefs go out the window.
Yeah.
I think it's the way it's been delivered as well. Like, so alongside teaching, I also do like youth work. I work with young people with special needs and disabilities. So obviously you've got a spectrum where you've got some young people that are on the minor spectrum of like autism, and then you've got some that are major that could be like non-verbal.
Okay.
So the ones that are like on a minor, but obviously to them still have a learning difficulty of understanding and processing information, and plus they are still teenagers.
Yeah.
Trying to see where they fit in society.
Yeah, they're trying to navigate
see
themselves through.
who they think they are, like what sexuality they do they like girls, do they like boys, do they like both, they don't know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you show them a resource to get them to answer questions so that they can query about it, because obviously they may come from, again, a household that don't want to talk about that, or they believe because they have a disability that, you know, that's not going to be a section that they have to talk about with that child, because if they're not going to have kids, or they're not going to have this, but you don't know that kind of thing, because there's loads of adults with disabilities that have kids same way anyway. So it's like it's way it's like delivered. So like how it was delivered in the youth club, like they showed like images of like, you know, a female, a male and a male, etc., and then explaining like, do you feel you're like this, or do you feel you're like that, and then it got them discussing and asking questions. So I think it's the way it's delivered, again when you say ability as well, I think that's the way where it can be, where people can answer questions, because sometimes they just don't want to talk about it and discuss about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear that. Guys, you know what, yeah? This is one of them topics that we could go on and on and on, and I'm sure we will probably revisit it again
Yeah,
at
of
some
course.
point. But that's a wrap in it for this episode. But thanks for joining back on the Exchange Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and don't forget, if you see any equivalent to an Asda, Tesco or Sainsbury's,
Let us know.
let us know in the comments, yeah? Thank you, guys.
Here we go.